All right, fight fans. It was David Benavidez with a very entertaining win last night against David Morrell, and this is how the fight ended.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, the judges are in agreement. We have a unanimous decision. Here are the score totals. Judges at ringside, Steve Weisfeld and Patricia Morse-Jarman, both scored about 115 to 111. Judge Tim Cheatham sees it 118 to 108, all three in favor of the winner. He is now the unified WBC interim and WBA light heavyweight world champion, the Mexican monster, David El Monstro Benavidez.
And just like that, fight fans, David Benavidez wins by unanimous decision in a very good fight over David Morrell. Let me start with my pros and my cons, as I usually do. Let me start with David Morrell. The pros would be I did like the counter punching. He was counter punching with the left hand and the right hand coming from the southpaw position. He was throwing he was hitting Benavidez with right hooks, and he was hitting them with straight and looping left hands. He did a good job of counter punching. He did a good job of keeping his mitts up. He kept his hands up most of the fight, and he was throwing a lot of his counters out of there. I thought that he did a decent job of trying to dip his body down. I believe to get his elbows down a little bit to stop all those body shots that David was landing on him. I like the fact that he was willing to stay in the pocket and throw shots against David, because David is also a puncher as well. I like the fact that he pretty much kind of fought his fight. He pretty much wanted to bring the fight to him. As for the cons, I would say that I would have liked to seen a little more defense. Yes, I know I said that a pro was that he stood in the pocket with Benavidez, but it seems that Morrell did not really come in with defense, that he was pretty much leaning on his power too much was another con. I felt that he leaned too much on his power, and I would like to have seen him box a little bit more to maybe do something to get Benavidez out of his comfort zone. As for David, the pros would be he threw punches from all angles. He used the jab, he used the left hook, he used the right hand, and he did plenty of body work. For those of you who know me well, you know that I love the body work. He went to the body of David to try to slow him down, which I think he did a little bit, but David proved that he still had power later in the fight. But Benavidez did not shy away from the power. The cons for David would be it's really kind of hard to find cons in this fight because I thought that both fighters did well. But the con I would have to give David is I did not like the fact that he backed against the ropes a few times in the fight, especially against a strong puncher like this. You know, I am not a fan of the machismo. You know, let me show you how tough I am. Waving your hands, telling the guy to come on. I'm a fan of fighters who just prove their dominance. And I think that David is a very dominant fighter. And I think that he could have been a little more dominant if he would have stayed off of the ropes and maybe kept some of that pressure off of himself and not letting Morrell use what I felt the only way he could win the fight was by his power. Let's talk about the fight. For the first 10 rounds, the fight to me was pretty much back and forth. I do believe that David won the fight. I do believe that he won it on all three scorecards. But Morrell was in there. I mean, there wasn't a round that he backed down. It pretty much was back and forth for the first 10 rounds. David going to the body on Morrell, Morrell going upstairs, Morrell, catching and throwing, as they say. They did a pretty good job of keeping the crowd entertained. They didn't really involve the ref a lot. That you didn't see a lot of clinching. I thought that the ref had a relatively easy night until we got into the 11th, where, like I mentioned earlier, Benavidez was he backed up against the ropes. Then he came in. He kind of stood in the pocket a little bit too long. I felt I may be trying to throw a counter of his own. David catches him and knocks him down. At the end of the fight, after the fight, David said that it was more of a flash knockdown, but regardless of what it was still a knockdown. He did not appear to be hurt, but he shouldn't even have got caught with that shot. Then at the end of that round, Morrell catches Benavidez way late after the bell rings, and the referee had to step in and chastise and pretty much put both fighters back in place and let them know, let's finish this fight strong, which they did in the 12th round. It was a very exciting 12th round, but it was very clear at that point, at least to me, that Morrell was going to need a knockout which I did not think that he was going to get. At the end of the fight, as I played at the beginning of this video, Benavidez wins by unanimous decision. Another good win by Benavidez. Some of you, if you've watched my videos over the years, you know that I am a Benavidez guy. I'm a fan of Benavidez. And I have been calling for him to get that Alvarez fight, which brings us to what happens next. As for Morrell, Morrell was like, I'm not done with Morrell. Of course, you're not done. You're 11-1 now. You have a long career ahead of you. What I would like to see Morrell do is use his boxing skills, which he does have a little bit more, and not necessarily look to only counter and get into slugfests with his opponents. As for Benavidez, he mentioned the other two light heavyweights. Those other two would be Arthur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol, who are scheduled for a rematch coming up. Now, this is what I would say. I would like to see Benavidez against both of those guys. Of course, I'm not holding out over the Alvarez fight, because that's a fight that I still think could happen, and a fight that I still would like to see. And I would like to see Alvarez not retire before he took on the tall, lanky Benavidez. But the way that Benavidez fought in this fight, I do not think that he can stand in front of Beterbiev and fight that type of fight. Yes, David Morrell is a hard hitter, but Beterbiev has, unworldly power, and Benavidez is not going to be able to stand in front of him and take those shots. He's not going to be able to back up against the ropes and put his guard up, because Beterbiev has the type of power that, one of his hands can hit your guard and almost, knock your guard to the side, and he will come with the other hand. So he'll hit you with that left and then come with the right when your guard is loosened up a little bit. But Benavidez, the boxer, I think has a good chance to beat both of those guys. All right, fight fans, what did you think about this fight? Who did you have in this fight? Did you have Benavidez winning, or did you have Morrell winning? I mean, what was your prediction before the fight? And what do you want to see Benavidez do next? Do you want to see him take on the winner of Beterbiev, Bivol? Do you want to see him maybe still chase that Alvarez fight? Or do you want to see him just stay at light heavyweight and do his thing? And if Alvarez comes up to him, he does. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. Also, too, speaking of this fight, I need to give a shout out to Sabanna Bolari on YouTube. I'm going to put the video description in the description. Excuse me. I'm going to put the video link in the description of this video, just in case you want to go check the fight out if you have not seen it yet. It's well worth it. It was a very entertaining fight. All right, fight fans, give me your thoughts on the fight. Were you entertained? What do you want to see them do next? And if you haven't already, over on my YouTube page, go ahead and give me a like, a subscribe, and a comment. Other than that, that's all I got for this one, fight fans. Holla at y'all later.